Hi, friends. Welcome to the New Age Comics Podcast. My name is Chase Porter, and today we are talking about some comic books. So the saga of this show has been rather interesting as of late. Basically, what has been going on is I have been extremely behind on recording. I mentioned this in the last episode, which came out just earlier this week. I was really late behind on everything, the election, and just life gets to you. So we're running late. These comics are not for the comics that came out yesterday, the 11th. These are for comics that came out on November 4th. Another weird thing about the show today, compared to the last episode, I was at my man D. Wayne's house, and he had all these gadgets and gizmos that I was having a whole blast on, that I was doing cool little sound effects. Well, I'm not doing that today. Alas, I am not doing that today. I am in a new studio, regardless, compared to the last couple episodes. But that is just because the place that I record has an array of studios, and I'm just trying a new one out today. So I don't have all the bells and whistles, but I am going through a whole process change with the entire show. This week, I'm going to be trying something very new. I'm going to be going through, instead of every single comic that came out in the week like I used to do. So cumbersome. Why was I doing that? This week, I am doing just my top 5, okay? So this is going to be the New Age Comics top 5 review, I guess you could say. Name is in the workshop at the moment, but I'm sharing my top 5 favorites from this week. Now, I'm stubborn as hell, so I'm going to be still talking about every single comic because I bought it and read it. I'm going to share my thoughts on it, but I'm going to do a rapid fire round of all the random comics that didn't make the top 5. So that's pretty much what we got going on for the show today. My week is going all right, and I hope your guys is going great as well. The show has been hectic, so I appreciate you guys who have been sticking with me and doing all the fun stuff with me over on my Twitter, which if you want to go follow me there, it is at New Age Comics Pod. Don't forget the pod. And then I'm on any podcast app that you can find and on YouTube as well, depending on where you're listening. So if you're on there, please throw me some love. But before we get into the books, spoiler warning, the customary spoiler warning. I might get a whole pre-recorded thing for that, but I'm going to be spoiling every book that I go through today. Some of the books that didn't make the top 5, I probably won't be getting into deep spoilers about, but my top 5, trust me, trust me, they are getting spoiled, all the little dirty damn details. So another cool thing before I hop into my top 5, I'm actually adding a couple segments to the show this week. We have a topical comic news section, as well as a what to look forward to next week section that comes after the top 5 review.
Now look, I want the real story.
So for this segment, I kind of just wanted to go over, what's a current ongoing thing in the world of comics, because there's actually always a lot of kind of cool behind the scenes stuff going on with creators all the time that I always want to talk about on the show, but never do. Frankly, because I never had a situation where I really could. So this is my first attempt, and I was in luck because there was actually a pretty big story this last week. DC Comics has named their new editor-in-chief. Her name is Marie Javins, I believe. Javins. Her hiring comes at the end of a huge saga that's been going on with DC the last few months. So about 9 months ago, they fired their old editor-in-chief, Dan DiDio, who had been working there for 10 years or something like that. That was a big shock to everybody. He was kind of beloved in the comic community. He was let go, I think, for just kind of creative differences at the end of the day. There is some controversy surrounding that, but alas, that is old news. Now we should just celebrate that they have a new editor-in-chief. She used to be DC's executive editor of global publishing and digital strategy. So she's been working at DC for a little while. So she's not just some newcomer, some corporate hack, that they've hired to replace Jim Lee or something like that. In fact, she actually has a little bit of, I guess you could say, tenure editing comics just in general, because she has worked on a lot of titles editing Justice League, a couple young adult titles like DC Superhero Girls. She did that Superman Smashes the Klan. I did not read that. I heard that was really good. But she's even an editor on Death Metal, a comic that's currently coming out and we're currently all loving on. So that's all very cool. What will she be doing at DC is another kind of question. And I guess in this new role, she's pretty much going to oversee the development and like execution of the publishing schedule for DC, you know, so what events are coming out, what comics are going to be dropping in what schedule. She'll also be working on stuff like the worldwide consumer reach, of course, in other countries outside of America. And she'll be doing a lot of this with Jim Lee, who's now the chief creative officer at DC. And they, in tandem, are going to be working on stuff like creator narratives and prioritizations and creative talent, you know, allocation and stuff like that. So I honestly think this is a good thing, guys, for anybody that seemed skeptical. I saw some people acting weird about it online. Like, she seems to have been working at DC for a long time. She understands the label and the publishing, and I think she really wants to take it to cool places. So I'm pretty excited for this. I think we should all give her a shot and see what Marie will kind of bring to the table with DC. I think this could be really cool. So I guess that wraps up the first news segment that I'm doing here. And now we will get into the comic reviews that I have for my top 5 of last week as of recording this, which is November 4th. I already kind of broke down the system here. I'm going to be giving rapid fire thoughts of a good handful of comics here. These are the comics that did not make the top 5. First off, we got U.S. Agent 1. I thought this comic was kind of just okay, in my opinion. Honestly, it didn't make a whole ton of sense. So that is sort of the reason that it did not make my top 5. It was actually one of the comics that I didn't really care for this week. But alas, I checked out Ultraman 3 this week, and I actually did dig this issue quite a bit. We got to see Shin actually go Ultraman in this issue and fight a kaiju, so that for that reason alone, I thought this issue kind of did its purpose. I read the newest issue of Avengers 38, and I actually did dig this issue. I was a little critical of the last arc, The Age of Khonshu, but this comic actually did a pretty cool follow-up. It's kind of doing this more slower stuff that I think Aaron is actually pretty good at, where he's just setting up stuff for Mephisto and the Phoenix that's going to be coming down the line. So I actually kind of dug this last issue. I also picked up Guardians issue number 8 this past week, and this was kind of the follow-up to the Empyre Aftermath stuff that was going on in the last issue. Novar, Marvel Boy, and Nova went to this whole galactic meeting, and Novar got framed for murder, and we kind of get to see how that plays out throughout this issue with Rocket kind of playing detective here, and it actually sets up something pretty crazy at the end here that I won't spoil, but let me just say Nola's coming. Speaking of Nola's coming, I also bought the new Web of Venom issue, Empire's End, which I got the snazzy cool cover that I tweeted about, which literally all it says is Nola's coming in plain white text on a black comic cover. It's so extra and dark. I love it. And this issue actually was really cool. This almost would be like an honorable mention because I really did dig this issue. It was like this horror comic with this symbiote making it onto this Kree Skrull ship, and he ends up like killing everybody, and it's this super crazy thing. And I guess I should say not Noel is coming, but Noel is here. But on the topic of doom and gloom, I also picked up DCeased Dead Planet issue number 5 this week, and I actually really did dig this issue. You know, we got to see Constantine doing Constantine type stuff, which means making deals and breaking hearts and making people hate him forever. But he steals this like crazy magical staff, or spear, I should say. And it's awesome. It's a classic Taylor DCeased comic where, you know, one superhero gets a power up and now is like a combo. There is a pretty significant character death in this issue. And, you know, it ends off with Batman just rocking Constantine across the face. So that issue definitely was awesome this week. And to continue down the Tom Taylor train, Constantine Rise and Fall issue number 2 dropped this week. This is the Black Label prestige format magazine book thing. And I really liked the first issue. It has to do with Satan and a bunch of ghost people, and this kid who died in Constantine's childhood, who's now like this crazy demon. Man, I love Derek Robertson. He is such an awesome artist. He gives me so much nostalgia for the Marvel Knights days, and he is really just the perfect Hellblazer artist, dude. Like the intro scene in this comic is so hilarious with Constantine waking up thinking he just had sex with Satan. It's just so funny. And it's actually kind of feels more like a classic Constantine type story because it's less magic, more just demons. And I I guess you could say, noir detective stuff. Now, I would be hopping into my top 5 at this point. However, I do have one solitary honorable mention from this week. Here I am, man. I'm breaking all the rules the first motherfucking time I make any of them. But I was really split on 2 comics for the 5th slot this week. So I had to tie break it, and I'm giving Black Widow issue number 3 an honorable mention. This is written by Kelly Thompson, drawn by Elana Casagrande, colors by Jordi Belair. For honorable mention comics, I'm just going to walk through them a little bit briefly and call out scenes that I really liked. This was a dope issue. Yelena, the other Black Widow, she gets brought into the mix this issue, which I was super hyped for. We kind of learn what's going on with Nat behind the scenes with this whole, she's got a family thing, but she's kind of, doesn't remember her life as Black Widow. And it has to do with this whole B-list table of villains that are kind of doing the jigsaw, pulling the strings behind her life type thing. It's pretty cool. I really do like the villains. When I say B-list, that's not an insult. I love B-list characters. And honestly, they fucked up in this issue because they sent some goons after her family, and she went full like all her memories flew back into her head, and she kicked everybody's ass. And it was super duper dope. They went to kill her family, and quite the opposite happened. They all got killed. And last but not least, the ending here is super awesome. It looks like Black Widow is kind of getting all her memories back. We will see. But I'm really liking this new Black Widow series. It feels like a true ongoing series, I guess. I really have dug a lot of old Black Widow stuff, but a lot of it's kind of limited series, which are great. Don't get me wrong, they're basically just little arcs, but I would like to see a really solid ongoing run. And I think Kelly Thompson is perfect for that. I really enjoy the way that she is breaking down the Widowverse here. And Devin Grayson's going to be writing this Widowmaker, Yelena, and Red Guardian comic that's coming out, I think, in 2 weeks, or maybe it's next week from today. So it'll be like the 18th or something like that. I think that is going to play in. And then we got the new Taskmaster comic that's dropping next week. So man, the Widowverse is going strong right now. But enough about that. Let us move into the top 5 this week. So coming in at number 5, I'm giving it to Batman issue 102, written by James Tynion, drawn by Carlo Paguglion and Carlos D'Annata, colors by Danny Miki. So we're in the Tynion-verse Batman here, and so that, what does that mean? That means new characters galore, just left and right. We got Punchline, we got Ghostmaker, we have the Clown Hunter, and this right here is Ghostmaker's issue, and it is a very good issue at that. It opens up, Batman is on the search for Ghostmaker here, and he essentially gets led to this massacre, just this massacre in a bar of all a bunch of, I think, just Joker goons, I think is what they were. It is a truly horrifying sight. And of course, Ghostmaker throws his little insignia up on the wall. It pisses Batman off. We then get this riveting little origin story, kind of flashback thing that kind of explains the origin of Ghostmaker. I guess he was one of Bruce's peers back in the day when Bruce was young and going out training before he was Batman. And in this flashback, gotta admit, Ghostmaker's kind of a nerd. He's wearing a mask that has the same design as his helmet in the future, and he looks a little nerdy, but it does look pretty cool. He kind of looks like Matt Murdock, Daredevil from the TV show when he's just got the black mask going. So all things considered, it is a cool look. But then after that, we get Harley. She's getting her new apartment, which is really cool. Tynion is turning the Batman verse into a little more grounded, I guess you could say. He is grounding every character in personable ways. For instance, he did that both with Batman and Harley now. They've both kind of just moved into the city. And I think that's going to be interesting. I like how Harley is actually good now. Even though it's kind of been teased for a couple years now, I'm glad it's just full throttle. We're supposed to like Harley, you know what I mean? But man, Ghostmaker, he wants all the fucking smoke in Gotham. He comes after Clown Hunter. He's trying to kick his ass. Batman comes in, of course, because no one can kick ass in Gotham but Batman. And wow, I mean, Ghostmaker is bad fucking ass. He is so fucking cool. And I guess they're having a battle for Gotham. I don't know what that entails. I don't know how exactly that's going to work, but I mean, I'm kind of fucking excited. Like, this issue was action fucking packed. I love where Tynion is taking the Batman run right now. He is taking it in really cool places that are making for really great character moments instead of just really outlandish shit that just is going to happen left and right. We get a little bit of Oracle in the beginning of this issue, and man, can we all just take a moment to appreciate how great it is for Oracle to be back? Like, mwah, I just love it. So Batman 102, definitely pick it up for Ghostmaker alone. Coming in at number 4, this is another case of me just breaking all the goddamn rules. I'm combining this week's number 4 into 2 comics, and here's why. I feel like you guys will understand. It's because those 2 comics are X of Swords, right? So it's X-Men issue 14 and Marauders issue 14. So I'm kind of just saying this is X of Swords week 6, okay? I'm only going to read the credits once here. X-Men 14 is written by Jonathan Hickman, drawn by Mahmoud Asrar and Lionel Francis Yu, colors by Sonny Go. And then Marauders 14 is written by Gary Duggan and Benjamin Percy, drawn by Stefano Caselli, colors by Edgar Delgado. So X of Swords, like I said, it's getting combined here. Yeah, I'm breaking the rules, whatever, you can sue me. But we're starting with X-Men because this is X of Swords part 12 of 22, okay? And we are picking up with some anime-ass vibes in the beginning of this issue from Apocalypse. And cool thing, if you go check out my Twitter, there was actually a cool little moment I had earlier this week. I tweeted a little part, just a screen clip of the first issue saying that Apocalypse needed some lo-fi hip-hop beats to study to. And I tagged Mahmoud Asrar in the tweet, and he quoted my tweet. And so the tweet kind of went off a little bit. And that was actually really awesome. So I guess shout out to Mahmoud Asrar. I love your art, man. You're so talented. So that was really cool to, get acknowledged by Senpai a little bit, speaking of anime. But anyway, this issue is about Apocalypse and his waifu Genesis. They take a little, I'm all with the anime references when it comes to X of Swords, but it's so anime. Like, if you are reading it, you know what I mean. Apocalypse and his waifu, they're taking a lovely little stroll. And Genesis is kind of telling Apocalypse the story of how she got the helm of Amenth. This is really important information. This goes all the way back to when Apocalypse and his crew defended Araco, right? We all remember that from some of the past issues. It's been recounted like 10 times now. I won't lie, guys. This issue was really fucking confusing. I still really liked it. The art and action was all really fun, but kind of was hard to follow what was going on. I think the story is that Genesis defended Araco, and then she dueled Amenth, slayed Amenth, and the rule was if you slay Amenth, you take the helm of Amenth. But then she never donned the helm, and then when the Horde came back, she put it on, hoping to control the Horde, and couldn't, and became a villain. That is my dumb brain way of conceptualizing this issue, if you were also confused. She, at the end of the issue, she wants Krakoa, and Apocalypse is pressed about that. She wants all that shit, and it's going to be a fucking duel for it. And I'm really fucking excited. I love this little last scene here. A super cool character moment of Apocalypse kind of feeling like, but wait, I actually really care about Krakoa. It's just such a cool time to be an X-Men fan because all the villains and the heroes are on the same side. It's so cool and such a unique time to be a fan. Final thoughts on this issue. The art was phenomenal and the story was definitely needed. So moving on, we're going into Marauders issue number 14. This is kind of the ceremonial pre-tournament dinner, I guess you could say. And that all being said, it's quite lit. The whole gang is there. Pogger Pog is there, okay, people? Pogger Pog, DEFCON Pog 1. Def Pog 1, because Pogger Pog is there. He's eating cards. It's all very funny. This issue is kind of a little bit of a romp. Wolverine, he's starting beef with Brian Braddock, who is like Captain Avalon right now. Magic and Gorgon, they're sizing up the Araco competition. It's all very fun. Storm and Anubis, they have like this cool dance scene. Storm pretty much tells him the fuck off, saying, "Get the fuck out of here, Anubis. Like, I'm gonna take your shit." And Wolverine is at the end here in the craziest fashion ever, pissed off about the fact just that they have to do this whole little battle thing. And he pretty much at the very end of the issue, this is the last page, spoiler here, he lunges at Saturnine and stabs her through the fucking like guts and heart. Oh my God. Wild. What the fuck? Wild as fuck. This comic ended in such a crazy way. X of Swords is, I will say, going a little slow. I'm kind of feeling that now. I was expecting the tournament to start right back up in issue 12, you know, like right when the midway point was passed. I thought we were going to see some fighting. We did not, alas, but I think next issue is going to be a little bit of squabbing. Okay. I can hold off for a little bit, but I kind of can see what people mean. Like this event has been going a tad on the slower end, but it's go time next week. There was some funny dialogue and cool character moments up in this issue. So, you know, I liked this comic a lot. And you may wonder, like, yeah, I just kind of critiqued X of Swords a bit. Why is it top 4? Why is it even above top 5? Well, because I love the prospect of X of Swords so much that even though I have these critiques about maybe the individual issue like X-Men 14, and even the event as a whole, I still love reading it so much that it just has to make the top 5 because I am just excited to read it every single time. Moving into number 3, and I got to give it to Thor issue number 9. This is written by the one, the only Donny Cates, drawn by the amazing Nick Klein, and colors by the very, very awesome Matt Wilson. So the Donald Cates and his epic, crazy, fucking wild ride, Thor run, it's doing hella well. Like every single issue is getting numerous reprints. We're starting a new arc here called Prey. I guess it's the return of Donald Blake. I have to say, I don't know shit about Donald Blake. So in this issue, I played a lot of catch up. And I guess the deal with him is that he is this guy who has Thor powers via this like little wooden staff. And he lives in the bottom of the world tree, I guess, which is, you know, coiled by Jormungandr or something like that, Norse mythology, etc. But after we get that little bit of backstory, Thor and Loki have this little chat and we kind of find out what's up with Mjolnir. I guess the magic in it is just like crumbling at the seams. So anyone can pick up Mjolnir at this point. And Thor wants fucking answers about that shit. So he switches up with Donald Blake to kind of get closer to the world tree. And it takes Thor to the place where Donald Blake kind of just hangs out. And it is like fucking hell now. And the serpent, Jormungandr or whatever, is dead, like collapsed over the city. It is like chaos. It is such an insane like scene switch. I can't even begin to describe it. It's so cool. And, you know, Blake, they show what's up with Blake and he is gone like fucking nuts, super crazy in this like prison, basically, that was this like little city in the tree. And he looks like a villain who's like on crack now. And it's so crazy. He scuffs up Loki and busts his staff in half. Wow. Like these are the reasons I gave this issue number 3 this week. Like it was just super, super good. The art was amazing. The reveal of that like hellscape in the World Tree City was just so dope because it copied a panel that was like sanctuary perfect place. And then it copied it when Thor went there to like this hell land. So just, oh my God, like Donnie, he's a madman. This Thor run it's in for the long haul because this is a 6-part arc. So we are really in for it. But yeah, I loved this issue. So Thor issue number 9, definitely deserving of that bronze medal. What comic takes second place this week is Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood issue number 1. This is another book with a humongous creative team, so I'm going to blow through it. This is written by Gary Duggan, Matthew Rosenberg, and Declan Shalvey, drawn by Adam Kubert, Joshua Cassara, and Declan Shalvey, colors by Frank Martin, Guru FX, and Declan Shalvey. But Black, White, and Blood Red, Logan anthology type book. Oh my God, this book was just really freaking amazing. It blew me out of the fucking water here, people. I won't walk through all the stories here. There were 3 of them, and I don't want to just go into each single one, but the shtick of it is it's a black and white book. Red is the only color that they're kind of granted, the artists or the colorists, I suppose. And it's honestly more of a showcase for art, if anything, but I'm okay with that because all these artists are fucking phenomenal. The first story, Adam Kubert murdered it. I loved the paneling in this part, and the art here is just so perfect for the black, white, and red. format. Adam Kubert was just a knockout. It was a really good Weapon X story. In the next story, it was also a total blast. Joshua Cassara just killed it. His art is so good. Super gory. I gotta say, this issue really pumps up the gore. Surprisingly gory. But I love the use of red in here, especially on things that aren't blood. Like there's a telephone booth that is red and people's glasses are red. It's all really well done. In this story, Logan is chopping up Hydra dudes left and right, and he blows himself up at the end. So what's not to love about that story? And then in the last one, here I am walking through every single thing when I said I wasn't going to. It's more of a somber one. Logan, he kind of stumbles into this cabin with a murdered couple. The baby's left there. Lo and behold, it was a setup, and Logan ends up slaughtering like dozens of people. So this was kind of how the book ended. It was a very gory, very awesome book. It was super, super fucking dope, guys. Like if I haven't displayed that well enough, it was really awesome. Like this book was just such a great idea. How often do you get to buy a black and white Marvel book? The next issue is going to feature all new creative teams as well. And I'm really excited for that because we get a Chris Claremont story, right? Chris Claremont and Salvador LaRocca are working together. We also get a Saladin Ahmed with Kev Walker. And then we get Vita Alia and Greg Land. Artists I'm all familiar with, writers I'm all familiar with, and I am excited as hell to check that next issue. So Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood totally blew me out of the water. I was skeptical walking into it this week, and I walked out hella pleased. So got to check that out. And so finally, we arrive to the #1 Holy Grail winning golden medal issue this week. Maybe you could guess what it was by now by the fact that I haven't mentioned it yet, but it is Crossover issue #1, written by Donny Cates, drawn by Jeff Shaw, and colors by D. Knife. Oh my fucking God. This comic this comic is so deserving of the issue of the week. Like this comic gave me such a feeling I seldom experience reading comics. Like one, the idea of this is just insane, right? Like it's Donny Cates taking the idea of a actual crossover event where all comics get crossed over into the real world, and he makes a comic about that event. Hence the name Crossover. Like, does that already not just sound like the craziest shit if you get your man Donny Cates behind it? Like, Jesus fuck. Donny's done it again. Like I said, there's a world where comic characters from all the publishers, they've crossed into this world. They're having this giant war. It's in Denver, Colorado. And this was 3 years ago. So now they have formed like a bit of a safeguard around it and sealed off the battle zone. And now people hate comics. And we meet our main character. Her name is Ellipses. And she goes into this comic shop. We meet the owner. His name is Otto. He says, fuck your comics to this one guy. That was very entertaining to me. And then there is this girl in the shop who is actually from a fucking comic. And you can tell because she has like the dotted skin that's like in the old pop art comics. And once she's sighted, for some reason, everybody dips. Because I think if you are a comic book character, thus like you're from the comics that crossed over into this universe, you are like demonized and illegal or something on some like Blade Runner shit. There's this religious guy who throws a Molotov cocktail into the comic shop. During all of this commotion, our girl Ellipses, she asks this little girl to draw the person that was able to help her get out of the force fielded area. And she draws a superhero, a pretty classic looking superhero with a fucking S on his chest. Like, oh my God. You might be hearing this and going, what a fucking nerd right now. But people, if you know what this means, like, this comic is literally designed to be a crossover and is playing with the idea of comics across every publisher crossing over. And then he's just going to fuck around and invoke the image loosely, but still invoke the image of the most popular superhero ever, Superman. Like, and on top of that, Donny Cates keeps telling us, watch out for this comic. Like, fucking be ready for the shit that this comic has to offer. Like, I am not ready, but this comic has piqued my interest. Like, guys, if you read any comic this week, please make it crossover. I loved this comic. It was so good. I have ranted and raved about it too much. Well, a couple things to point out. It's very gory. I love that though. There's an intro spread that's just fucking amazing. Ellipses, she's very cool. And she fucks with the soup, so that's dope. So yeah, I just like don't even know kind of what to think about this comic at this point. I am just like drooling for the next issue. And Donny Cates said it's a fucking ongoing series, guys. Excuse my language in this segment, but it's an ongoing series. Oh my God. Everyone just be ready. This is the issue of the week, very deservingly. So shout out to Crossover. Shout out to Donny Cates. You deserved it. Okay, so that was the top 5. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. And as a little post-show thing, I'm pretty much just going to be running through the comics that drop next week. Funny enough, next week has already happened in this universe because I'm recording this as of November 12th. So these are comics I already have, but here's what I'm going to be talking about in the next episode that's going to be dropping. I'm going to be talking about Exosword stuff, Marauders 15, Excalibur 14, Wolverine 7. We got the new issue of Iron Man, Savage Avengers 14. God, that cover looks awesome. Taskmaster, I shouted that out earlier in this episode. I'm very excited for Taskmaster. We're getting Dark Knight's Death Metal Infinite Hour Extreme, XX Extreme, #1. It's going to have Lobo. Looks pretty dope. We're getting Superman 27. Can't wait to keep up with that series. Punchline, issue #1. Okay. That is very anticipated. We're getting the return of this whole mirror guy with detectives, 1030. And then lastly, for some indie love, 7 Secrets #4 is dropping. Can't wait to read that. And so that about does it for the show this week, guys. I realized this was a lot of different changes. I'm sure a lot of the sounds you're going to be hearing are very different. My voice might even sound very different. But alas, I have to be at work in T-minus 60 seconds. Not even kidding, I have to be at work in 1 minute. So I'm often late to work, but that's gonna be the case today. I'm gonna zoom up out of here. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys wanna support me, you can figure out how to do it. I have some faith in you guys. So the clock just struck 45 and I gotta be at work right now. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Have a wonderful week. Go ahead and read some comics, damn it. See you guys, goodbye.